Okay, so welcome back to the Moto Martin build, the Supersport Shed episode 2. It's been a little while since we did the last episode. Number of reasons for that. Basically, the bearings got lost in the post, and we had some problems with the bridge on the headstock, which you'll see later on. But anyway, so we're working towards this. Okay, and as you'll see in this episode, there's basically lots of issues that are arising on this build, which are of no surprise. I basically set out at the start of this build that there were going to be issues, nothing major, but they'll all become clear as you watch this video. One thing I didn't close down, which will fall into the next episode, episode 3, is the brake caliper arm here. And you'll see in the video the issue that we had. Basically, the brake pads weren't covering the disc. And so look, I'll show you in episode 3 how we're going to resolve that. But just starting on it, you can see now how I'm approaching that. I've basically scanned in the brake caliper arm, and I need to reduce 7mm on that arm. So this is just the start to that. So I'll show you that in episode 3. Anyway, I hope you enjoy this video, and catch up soon, and don't forget to like and subscribe in the buttons below. Thank you.
So we've had to basically re-weld these 4 holes in here, and then I've re-drilled them and re-tapped them. They were so far out that the fuse cover was on an angle like this, literally, and that's how it was. So so that's good now. The NTM bearings have turned up at last. These were ordered on the 25th of April, so we're now basically 2 weeks on from that, but they got here on Saturday, so we can now commence getting the headstock fitted and the forks fitted. Obviously this needs to be sprayed and baked. So yeah, that's the next task that we got to get underway. So once that's done, we'll catch up in a bit.
So these photos that I'm presenting now are just showing you what we had to do to address the 4 holes in the bridge on the headstock. As you can see now, we've welded them, basically cleaned up, and then we finally sandblasted it, ready to be drilled and tapped. So hopefully that's been useful for you.
So it's taking a bit of time to get here. The last episode you were seeing the shocker bead was fitted. So basically the progress that has been made has been slow, but is some key milestones now. First things first is this is now greased up, the rear shock's greased up, clamped front and rear. The swinging arm now is fitted correctly and tightened up. But most importantly of all, this is what's been causing the delay, was the headstock, the bearings in here, and getting the correct height and fitment of the stem, because I don't believe that this stem or triple clamp here is off a CBX Martin, just purely and simply by the fact it didn't fit. But it's all been machined up now. We're about 2 threads from the top, so we're absolutely fine, and that includes adding this washer which I machined up in here. So basically what I've done is I've machined up in here these stainless steel washers, which provides the best dust seal that can possibly achieve, because they weren't fitted with dust seals that I'm aware of. Certainly my Martin isn't anyhow. So that's been done. The 2 clamps now have been painted. Some of you will have seen that I had to strip this bridge back, plug weld these 4 holes here, and re-drill them as they were totally to cock. They were completely out. So that's done now. So that's ready now. So the next stage now is basically to hopefully get the rear wheel fitted on here, okay, and get the front forks fitted. So then we can flip the bike over and start making progress to build the bike up. So that's where we're going to get to. So we'll catch up in a bit. So this is the steering lock stop off the Moto Martin. hopefully this didn't come out the factory like this, but it's pretty damn awful. So anyway, I'm going to tidy it up, clean it up, then make it hopefully fit for purpose. So I'm just going to go through that process now with the old file and crack on with it. So basically cleaned up this steering lock bracket now. It's looking a bit better. And the correct shape. I just hope it didn't come out the factory like that. I'd be very disappointing if it did. But that's looking a lot better now. So it's catching there nicely. So, and there. So that's ready to go. So just straighten the brackets back up and get the forks fitted. Well, at last we're getting somewhere. We've done the headstock as you saw in the earlier video. Fitted the front forks, which went in relatively easily and lined up. And more importantly now I've got the back wheel mounted with all the relevant spaces in there. So yeah, so it's looking okay. Alignment on the rear wheel is good, and the tyre appears to be running lovely and true, which is great. I need to clock up the brake disc to make sure there's no warpage on the brake disc, but I'll do that later on. This is really just a test fitting this rear wheel for the moment in time being. And as we can see here, I've just laid the axle in the forks, and you know, all looks pretty straight so far, but still very early days, and no doubt through this project there's going to be a lot of gotchas. But anyway, so that's the rear wheel test fitted and the brakes fitted. One thing that we are going to need to check out is basically the brake caliper arm. We got the right distance here. I'm guessing we probably have, but that needs to be checked. And that sprocket seems extremely large. You can't really see it in the camera. Certainly for a CVX engine, but we'll revisit that when we get to that point in time. I always mount the bikes upside down when I build them this way. It just makes it easier, and you can actually see everything that's going on visually. So that's it. So I've got my little stool that I sit on just to survey the project as I'm going. So anyway, we'll move on now and get on to the next thing, which is hopefully mounting the front wheel and getting the thing up on its wheels. So we'll catch up in a bit. So we never get carried away when we say things are going so well doing these sort of projects. As we can see, I've now fitted the rotors or discs onto the front wheel, and we can see basically here there is no clearance for the bolts, and they're picking up on the fork tubes. Just gonna get that in there, picking up on the fork tubes there. So yeah, the rotors have to come back off, and then I'm gonna have to shave the tips off of these bolts here. So yeah, another hour or so to get that done. Catch up in a bit. So just revisiting this problem we've had on the brake discs hitting the fork tubes. Rather than machine these, found M14s, which will be a direct replacement. So I've got those on order. So that'll solve that problem. That's a quick fix. Whilst I'm at it, I'm ordering M8x40s for the clamps here, which will in stainless. So that will bring that up to a good standard. Also on the handlebar, on the clip-ons, M6x20s in here. So that'll finish off the forks now and give a good quality. So whilst I'm at it, I've just decided to fit the brake caliper as a test fit in here on the rear brake caliper, and take a look at this quality torque arm that's been supplied. I had to laugh, but there we go. I suppose it's fit for purpose back in the day. But yeah, what can one say? A nice bit of plastic wrap around there, quality job. So what I'm going to do is now order some M10 stainless bar in here obviously tap the threads here, so that'll give some play in there, and that'll solve that problem. So that'll fix that for the torque arm on the rear brake caliper. That'll solve that, but yeah, one step at a time, slowly as she goes. But overall, coming on and looking very reasonable. Just one final thing, you know, the nice thing about setting the bike up like this, I know it's not conventional for most of you guys who build bikes, but I can just sit on my stall here and I look at all the alignments on the bike. So if you look down through there and line the brake disc up that side and line the brake disc up that side, you can see the wheel alignment is absolutely perfect. Not conventional for most people, but you know, I take an engineering approach to things, and this is how I like to work. I can move around on my stall, view things, and yeah, it all comes together. But once the wheels are all fitted, then she'll be turned up the other way, back on a paddock stand, probably elevator up so I can work around her. I don't have a hydraulic lift, unfortunately, just to purely and simply down to space constraints. But one day when I move a lot of my motorcycles on, then I might find some room. But there we go. Catch up in a bit. Okay, so just moving on from the torque arm, we can see here that we've got a bit of a problem in the sense that this is a previously made bracket, the caliper arm bracket, and you can see there the brake pads are probably 6-7 millimeters shy of the disc. So in summary, I'm trying to bring this out here. So in summary, this brake caliper needs to move down. So as I say, this is a previously manufactured part, so I imagine that that's the way it came out the factory, or whether it was bespoke manufactured, I don't know. But anyway, so I've got to correct that. So I'm going to look at how I do that. I'm not very happy with this center setup here. These are countersunk bolts that come through these side, these nuts. So I'm going to look at a method now where I can actually try and move this bracket, this caliper down, but at the same time address these countersunk bolts which come in from this side. So let's see what we can do on that, and hopefully I'll have a result in a little bit of a video in a little while. Bye. So I've just had a further look at this this issue with the brake pad alignment onto the disc, and unfortunately there's no way around it. I'm going to have to remanufacture this this bracket here. You know, I was hoping to basically salvage it, but by the time I salvage it, it's going to be a lot quicker to get a new bracket made up. I'll get it laser cut, and then along with this bracket and other brackets, I'll get them anodized. I'll speak to the customer and decide what colour he wants, probably get them done in gold again. But yeah, that's a bit of a nuisance. It's just another added one onto the list, so outside the scope of the project. But you know, these things have to be done now to be done properly. That disc would never work correctly with basically 15-20% of the pad not touching on the disc, so it's got to be addressed. So anyway, another one, but not an urgent one. I'll get that done as I get my next laser cut done with my supplier. Catch up in a bit. So as with everything on this project, it's one step forward and one step back, but we will get there. This is not unexpected in any way or form. So here we go. You can see the Speedo drive here that's due to be fitted with the front wheel. Now I've checked the dimension as well on the axle to make sure it's fits between the forks, and it's fine. But of course, I can't fit it because it won't go in. So either lathe or mill to machine this out now to the right size. So hopefully we'll catch up with that in a bit whilst I'm undertaking it. So see you in a bit. So Karen's made me a nice cup of tea, so just have a swig of this and then we'll carry on. So yeah, I've now got the Speedo drive mounted in the lathe. I've done the first cut, so I've got to bore this out from 15mm to 17mm. Got my boring bar there. So yeah, so we're going to take a cut now. I think off the top of my head, just around about 0.5 millimetre. So if I can just get there, Karen, if you can stand there and just video. So we're going to bore this through now, and on the old Boxford lathe. You can see the way this is cutting. This is a cast iron bossing here. Coming out the other side now. There we go. So that's cut now, so the next cut will probably be the final size. So I've now basically cleaned up, so we bored the drive here, and what I've done is, as mentioned just a second ago, is put a clean-up cut on the outside. Just to try and get a perfect fit, so I'm trying to do this with one hand here. You can see that's a nice fit on there now. So I can put this back together, put it up, and hopefully it will drop straight in, and we should be finished then. So I'll catch up in a bit. So anyway, basically this is now sorted out on the Speedo drive. But as always, firstly, this is going to have to be relieved here to clear the drive. That's the first thing. But more importantly, something just didn't sit right. And you'll have to excuse the pun when I show you. Because if you look in there, oops, where are we? If we look in there, I think that says that is the wrong diameter nut that's on that shaft. If I put this on the top, you can see it even more. So this is frustrating, not a big issue again. I'll machine that down, but how the hell did these get in this situation like this? I don't know. So let's measure that up, machine it, and get it back in. Catch up in a bit. So this genuinely is baffling and bewildering. So the axle this end is actually exactly, well, just shy of 22 millimeters. This end is, there we go, it'll be there in a minute. Yeah, 22.3 millimeters. Now, how the hell did that end up like that? I guess the shaft's been used on some of the bike previously. I couldn't understand it because the disc seemed out of alignment, and that will explain now what the problem is. So I'm going to machine that down, and we'll come back. Okay, so we're coming to the end of the video for this week, but before we sign off, I've now remachined the nut on the axle here. As I say, I had to take 0.3 of a millimeter off of here, or 12 thou in imperial. So that basically has changed things, because I wasn't happy with the distance of the brake discs on each side, and that misalignment was made by the fact that the discs were doing that. So that's the reason why. But anyway, so that's it. So it is a bit of a shocker why that ended up like that, but I guess we'll never know when it passes. So all of the front end now is now complete down here, and so you've seen all what's going on around the bike. But I was hoping to have it up on its wheels by now. That hasn't happened, but it won't be long now. So anyway, you have a good week. I'll catch up with you next week. And if you don't mind, like and subscribe down below, and we'll catch up soon.